What would it feel like to finally know exactly what to say about your business and have the confidence to say it anywhere? Today's guest came into the Beam Life with a business she was super passionate about, women she wanted to serve, and absolutely no idea how to talk about it in a way that made people stop and listen. Add in some money wounds, and on top of that, you have a woman who was hiding in plain sight. 1 year later, she has pitched herself over 6 podcasts and speaking opportunities. And by the end of this episode, you're going to understand exactly what changed and why it can change for you too. Welcome to the Proof It's Possible series. Today, I have my client and friend, Grace Williams, the founder of Love Those Vibes, a self-love subscription box and community created to help women give themselves permission to live abundantly and love the truest version of themselves. She's also a co-author in the book we all wrote last year, This Time It's Personal, and is a soon-to-be podcast host herself. Grace, I'm so excited to have you here.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I just feel like this is a really long time coming. And there's so much about your story that when I meet new women coming into the community, I'm like, oh my gosh, you remind me so much of where Grace started. And then I get to be like, but look at what's possible for them.
Exactly. It's amazing.
So I want to start there by talking about the before, because like I mentioned in the intro, before we met, you had this business that you were passionate about and you had great ideas and ways that you wanted to help women connect with themselves on a deeper level. But something was getting in the way of you being able to get more visible. Maybe it was like ask your price, or, just the general overwhelm that comes with having a business. I would love for you to take us back to that season and kind of talk a little bit about what was happening.
Yeah, sure. I think for me, it was really being clear deep down what I wanted, but not confident in all the things that I was doing to get there. And so I would take training, and I took this amazing course in like how to really build a subscription box business. And it was wonderful for the nuts and bolts. It led me to the right places for my website and things like that. But they're missing from it was like this heart of I couldn't convey that. And I didn't find a way to do that in there. And I just felt like, okay, I have all the tools now, but I felt like I couldn't quite get out of me what I wanted other people to understand and know about self-love and why a subscription box was such a fun way to practice it and start it if they weren't even sure where to begin. And
Yeah.
that's honestly why I stepped into coaching with you, because I felt like I didn't realize it, but until you and I had done like our first one-on-one. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm like my brain's an entire like pile of spaghetti noodles that are cooked, and you just laid them out neatly so I could see each one. And that's what it was, is just I had so much excitement and passion and ideas for what I wanted to do. And it was almost like I wanted to like push them all out there, like all over everyone. And I couldn't do that. So then I was like, what do I do now? And you really helped me sort of lay it all out and figure out take steps.
I remember when you gave me that analogy of the spaghetti, and I'm like, that's how I feel as a mom.
Yeah.
Every day.
Exactly.
Except I'm like, who's coming to untangle my brain? I need some untangly.
Nobody's coming for that one.
I'm like, this is just a pile that's going to remain a pile. But okay, so that makes so much sense that you had, and I think this is so common for many women at this stage of business where they've invested in the course for the strategy piece of it, right? Like you said, the nuts and bolts, but you were executing, but something wasn't working. Like, why do you think that piece wasn't happening? Like, you're clearly smart enough to do and execute and understand, but there was that missing piece. Yeah, tell us a little more about that.
I think it wasn't happening because I was, instead of just taking the tools, right, and implementing them how I needed to, there was part of me that felt like I was supposed to follow a certain formula because that's how subscription boxes work. But what I'm doing is so much more than just a subscription box. And it's grown into, building the community. And that was the pieces that, a subscription box is wonderful, but what I was kind of trying to follow as like a map, first of all, wasn't mine. And second of all, didn't blend in that heart and community that I wanted. And but I kind of kept, I'll just keep following the steps because that's what you do, right? And
Ah,
then eventually everything
yes.
works.
I so deeply relate. In fact, literally, when we're done with this, I'm going to record an episode about something so similar about how when I started in the industry, the same thing happened to me where we get wrapped up in this like vision of what it's supposed to look like because that's what worked for someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're like, wait a minute, what's wrong with me that I'm following exactly what this person said and it's not working? And I think that as a coach, I'm so passionate about showing women it's actually not, you're not broken. Like
Right.
nothing's wrong with you. We just haven't figured out a way to do it that fits and looks like for you, for your
You,
life, for
yeah.
your vision.
That makes so much sense. And it's I get like, there's franchises and MLM type businesses that are sort of cookie cutter and made for people who want to just sort of step in and do someone else's thing. But that's not at all what this is. And I just it took you it took you getting me over that hump of like
It took us, yes.
doing the steps isn't like, if those steps aren't my steps. And then I started to create my steps. And then I really started to like have the joy again for what I was doing. Because when you're in that kind of rut, it gets a little discouraging, sometimes a lot discouraging. And you just kind of like,
Yes.
just, like a little engine that could, but there's nothing doing on the other side of it. And it really took working with you to get through that, to go like, here's what I really want.
Yes. And I want to talk about with you specifically because I think you can give just such an honest response to this is like, I think every single person I've talked to pretty much who comes into a container is very hesitant about investing in herself
Mhm.
because most of the time, if you're coming to me, it's because your business probably isn't functioning and maybe money is low or like you're spending more on the business than you're making in the business. And it feels ridiculous to invest in yet another course or yet another coach or another thing that promises to like fix you. And so I'm curious, like, what was going around for you in your mind with making an investment and like what ultimately got you to say like, okay, Grace, we're going to do this thing. We're going to invest because it's not, a $15 a month program. It's an
Right.
investment
Right.
in your financial resources as well as your time. So talk to us a little bit through that. Like how have you decided and not just necessarily with Beam Life, but what was that process like for you?
Sure. So the first time I ever invested in a training was before it was the training I was in when I came up with the concept of my business. I was doing something completely different and just wanted a little strategy to like increase my Instagram vision and, followers and visibility. And it was in that training that, what I had no idea that the coach was going to like dive deep in all the mind, body, heart work that I was totally ignoring. And so even though that little 12-week program, which was extremely inexpensive because she was sort of getting her feet under her as a coach, it was just sort of trying to figure it out. But that taught me immediately that if you have the right person, it doesn't even
Mhm.
matter what the price is because whether it's an inexpensive program with the right person who just happens to click with you, or a bigger investment with the right person who's got skills and strategies and heart and mindset that you really know you need. Wherever you land in there, you're going to benefit if you land with the right people. And I did. I did that training, which gave me the aha moment, put me in a position for the aha moment to go, oh my God,
Yes.
the women of the world need a subscription box to practice self love. And then from there, if I didn't do that program, I wouldn't have done the healing work that I even started scraping the surface of. I wouldn't have had any idea what I was worthy of because the concept came up in that 12 weeks. And I was like, can I curse on here? Because I was like,
Fuck yes, you can.
is, what the fuck is this worth thing? I literally got up at like 5 o'clock on a Saturday morning, sat in a quiet room and did a word study on the definition of the word. So that set me up for every next step. So for me, I had a wonderful start because it was an experience that I needed everywhere and not at all in the area that I thought I needed it. And there
Mm,
was strategy, don't get me wrong, but that was not even close to what I got out of the program. And then what happened is I was ready to invest in the nuts and bolts subscription box training. And then when I came out of that, I was like, okay, time to implement because I love to learn. I could get lost in that
of course.
coaching. So I came out and was like, implement. And that's where I was like, okay, I need something bigger. I need somebody who's built something successful, but also gets like that I want to be me and I want to do it my way. And I already connected with you on that level. Like I knew you were going to be that
Totally.
person. But what happened was you started sharing about your next container. And at first I was like, oh, that's great. Like people are going to love that, And I was not immediately ready to step into coaching. But over the couple weeks, what I was watching was myself do the same things over and over and over. And I was like, it's me, I'm people. I need to be in that. And
It's me.
and to be honest with you, it was an investment that I wasn't financially prepared to make, but I figured out how to make it because it was necessary. And I will tell you, the universe tested me because right after I decided to join that container, not one, but two of our family cars were done. One died and
I
one was totaled
remember.
in the course of 7 days. And I was like, oh shit, I just committed to this container. And I looked at my husband and I'm like, we're going to get the cars, but I'm also going to do the coaching because I really need it. And he was like, all right, we got this. So,
Ah,
it was a little nerve wracking because it would have been easy to be like, oh, I'm not going to spend that money because I'm going to go get a new car payment. I have a car payment. It's not fun, but I made it all work. And I
yeah.
come from when I say that to people, I want people to understand that I don't come from big financially wealthy background. I come from very simple background. So for me to be invested in myself enough to say, I made this commitment and this big roadblock just came, I'm going to find a way around it, not let it stop me. That's a big deal. And I want people to understand that it wasn't flippant like, oh, I'll just throw it on a credit card.
Yep.
It was a big deal, and I'm so grateful that I did it, and I'm actually grateful that the roadblock came up because it was like
Yes.
it was just a reminder of like you need this, and you can sit back and go, oh nope, maybe next time. But honestly, I needed it then, and if I didn't do it then, I don't think I would still have my business. I probably would have given up
Yeah.
after that.
I remember when that happened. Thank you for sharing that story because to me, that's real
Yeah,
fucking life.
it is.
That's real life. Like, and whether it's a financial thing or a health thing or something getting canceled that you thought was going to be like the saving grace. But what I want to reflect back to you as the coach on the other side of that, the growth I saw you make, because here's the thing on what your investment actually why it worked is because you decided, hey, I'm going to make an investment, but I'm not going to look at Kaitlin like my life raft.
Right.
I'm going to look at her as like my co captain, and I'm going to do the work and take the action, not just with the doing of the stuff, like, the strategic stuff, but I'm actually going to work on me, like my mindset. who I am and how I show up. And I think that car thing was like the first of that domino.
It really was. It was two big dominoes.
Two huge dominoes. We'll call those boulders, two boulders. And so you already kind of mentioned your kind of money mindset coming into the program and how you had eliminated that, not eliminated, illuminated
Mhm.
that in the previous program. And then I think it came to light even more. And then when we were done working together, you went on and even did more work
Yeah.
on your money mindset and your relationship. Money mindset to me feels like it's so surface. So
Yeah.
I would call it like your deep inner wealth relationship.
Yes.
But tell me how that's shifted for you, because when we first started this podcast, what did you say to me today? What was the first thing you said?
I had a fucking money win and it was so exciting. And
Yes.
since
And I'm
then,
like, that's
it was
yes.
honestly, it was that decision that sort of over the last year, it's been what, a year and a half almost? That decision
Yes.
just set off a whole, and it really is a domino because the other dominoes just have fallen into place. And when those money challenges came up, there was a point where I was like, okay, you know what? I need to pause and go do some real money healing. And I did. It was not comfortable. It was not easy. But I did a lot of like I had some money trauma from I had some money issues from growing up
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
a very frugal single mom and always watching her scrimp and save and sacrifice for everyone, but never doing anything for herself, like anything. And the trauma came in from being in a domestic violence situation in my 20s.
Mm,
And that was, there was so much control there that even when I came out of that, I actually last week just realized that even when I came out of that, I still poured all my finances into everyone around me because I was so conditioned to not be worthy of it myself. So that was a big part of the money healing. But I did
yeah.
somatic sessions for like a 6 week um, it was like a 6 session thing over 12 weeks. And it was a huge help. And it brought to light a lot of aha moments into like, oh, I never really thought about the fact that this was an issue, but why that specific instance in my life at sometimes 8, 7, 6 years old impacted
Yes.
how I responded in my 20s and in my 30s and now in my 50s.
Uh, I thank you again for bringing us there and talking about that, because it's so true. Oftentimes we forget that these situations that happened when we were 6, 7, 10 years old are still showing up, and they look different, but it's coming from that same place. I read all the time posts online, and it's like, what your kid is experiencing now will someday be a story they tell at a dinner table in 20 years when you're not sitting there. And I'm like, oh, what do I want that story to be? And what is a
Exactly.
story about themselves
Yeah.
that they're saying? But it's so different when we're looking at it from that perspective. And I know you have kids of your own,
Yeah.
and you are, so conscious about it's time to break that cycle, and you're
Yeah.
not going to pass that on to the next generation.
Yeah. Exactly.
So let's see, where do I want to take us? I think I really want to talk about your results,
Okay.
because what's so cool is that you set goals and you're like, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to like go out there and do the best I can. And I don't know what the outcome's going to be, but I know that I'm going to do everything I can to work towards this goal. So you made it like a thing that you're like, I want to get on podcasts. I want to have more speaking opportunities. I want to be able to, sell X amount of boxes. So how did you feel when you were setting these goals that felt really big at the time? And what did you have to tell yourself to actually like do the thing to go after it?
I the podcasts and the speaking engagements were the bigger one for me because I didn't have the confidence behind them that I do my box, right? And so I made a pitch sheet and belabored it for like 100 years. And finally, I was like, you know what? Forget the pitch sheet. I'm just going to post a picture of myself and share. And from that, I got a couple. I'm in a podcast group. Like stepping into a podcast group is crazy. And it's all the whole group. It's for people to collaborate and, share who needs a guest, who is a guest. And
Oh, that's so cool.
everything I had done before then was mostly with people that I was connected to in some way, whether it's someone referred us or said, wow, you two should talk. So that was new territory and it was really uncomfortable. And I used to sort of like just put myself out there. But over the years, and I don't really know where it happened, but over the years, I've gotten more timid about stepping into spaces where I might be seen when, by a bunch of people I don't know. Like if there's someone there that I know, I'm usually okay with that. But so it felt like really raw to just like, hey, this is me. And then it was like, did anybody hit like? Did anybody comment back? And so I had to just go like, it doesn't really matter. Like I put myself out there and that was the first step to doing it. And I didn't even realize until that year I set a goal to do 6 because I had only done a couple before that. And I was like, you know what? This is something I enjoy doing. It's a message that I get to share with different communities. I'm going to do this 6 times every other month. That's not too bad. And I realized on December 28th, as I finished doing a speaking engagement, I was like, shit, I did it. I hit my
I
goal.
did
And it was
it.
so exciting because I didn't there weren't I mean, there was no expense involved in me doing this. I didn't have to go anywhere. It was all online. It was all virtual, but it was really cool to show up each time how I needed to show up. 1 or 2
Yeah.
times my voice wasn't that great. I had just gotten over a cold, but you know what? I had a pile of cough drops next to me and a cup of tea and I went through it and did it anyway. And I think what I learned through the process was none of it's perfect, right? And I kind of knew that in advance anyway, because that's just life. But I really
Yeah.
learned that it's not perfect, but it can still be fucking amazing on the other side of it. And that's what I loved and I've been on podcasts with people from Australia, Malta, Idaho, like I no, Nebraska, sorry.
So cool.
And one of
So
the
cool.
coolest experiences in there was one of the people was connected to a coach, and he was talking about his coach on that call. And I was talking about this woman who was like the first person I put my name out there of my company, and I didn't even register. And I was like, fingers crossed, hopefully the name will be available when I register. And it turned out in the end, we were talking about the same person and didn't know it until he posted the podcast and she saw it and went,
Oh,
how do you two know each other? And it's just so cool that in this space, I've met the most amazing people and I'm that part of it. Like none of the being nervous or being uncomfortable is outweighed. I mean, all of that is outweighed by the relationships I've built and the people I've gotten to know through this. And it's been so cool. And on the flip side of it,
yeah.
like the women that I've been able to serve and, showing up for a workshop and then having someone message me and say, oh my God, that's exactly what I needed tonight. And I almost didn't show up. And I love that because I don't always know what other people need, but what I know is
Yeah.
that I need to show up because it's right here in my gut. Like you can't see that 'cause it's below the camera, but it is right there in my gut. That's where it is. And I know so much of my life and I appreciate my life because I walked it and I learned from it. But there were parts of it that I know that I didn't necessarily need to walk through had I known
Yeah.
these things 20 years sooner. And my goal is to help
Yeah.
women who don't yet know or who maybe know and just are like, I don't really know how worthy I am. So it's been really cool.
Yeah.
That part's been super cool.
Women can always use a reminder. I need it all the time. I'm like, I need to remind myself how worthy I am,
Yep.
And I love what I heard and what you just said is like really releasing the expectation because yes, you had a goal, but then how you just didn't even realize it until the end of the year. We
Yeah.
were like, oh, wait a second. And also, I don't know how many people listened to that episode or liked the episode or shared the
Yep.
episode. That's not what it was about.
Yep.
It
Exactly.
was it was really about just showing up with intention. And I think that so many people get caught up in like, what am I going to say on the podcast? How am I going to pitch myself? Are people going to like it? Am I going to sound stupid? And it's like you said, all those worries
Mhm.
start to take away from the whole point anyway, which is
Yeah,
letting people hear your story and show up.
exactly. And you don't know what resonates, like, and what you might have in common with someone who just, again, needed you to be that voice that day. And sometimes
Yeah,
I need me to be that voice that day, and sometimes doing that thing is almost sometimes about what I really need to do that day versus always, what somebody on the receiving end of it might be.
totally. Totally. I think what's so cool is, you've been out of all the women I'm doing the Proof It's Possible series with, you've been out of the program the longest. And I appreciate it so much because you and I stay connected, which
Yep.
is like my favorite thing. And I always tell people this, and I don't think they actually think that I mean it when I'm like, share your wins with me. Tell me that, like, what's happening in your world. Tell me how your kids are. Tell me what's happening with, your marriage and your life and your money and your business, because I value that. And we create a relationship.
Yeah.
It's not like just coach client. I'm like, I'm involved in your world. So
Yeah.
I want to know, because again, you and I have had private conversations about this where the work was happening while you were in the Beam life.
Mhm.
But sometimes I always think of it as like a crock pot, right? Where it's like it tastes good after it's done, but it tastes better the next day
Yep.
because it's like it's given some time to marinate.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about like what has transpired from you, from like the work that started to happen in the Beam life, but how it sort of became this like chain reaction, and what's life looked like for you afterwards.
Sure. So yeah, the work started, and I think a big part of it was, you know, when I left the Beam life, the next thing I stepped into was that healing of some of my own money journey. And that was really important because it set me up to win when things pop up that were challenging instead of feeling defeated by them, and not just money things, but other things. I'm looking for okay, how can I learn from this? And, and what I'm seeing too is like the ripple, right, in my family. And I'm loving that. And my husband has kind of like stepped into his own healing work, and he'll share stuff with me. And I'm like, I told you that 2 years ago, but okay. So, and that's why, because
But I'm
he needs
glad you're
to do it
listening
in his
now.
time, right? And he was like, "Oh yeah, I kind of remember that." But and even my kids, like just watching them grow into the teens that they are now, and getting their voice and looking at their futures, and oh my God, how are we talking about college and like what we want to do when we grow up, kind of things, in a really serious way. And so it's been cool to watch how laying that foundation has given everybody in the family some space to really own their own stuff and embrace their own dreams. And I've loved that part of it. But what I am loving on the side of Love Those Vibes is that it's I've shifted to open it up to a more community focus, which I love because I don't want an audience. I want a
Yeah.
community, and community is not always friends, right? So friends are friends, but they're not always your community. And community can become friends, which is beautiful. And that's part of what I got when I was in the Beam life. It's just some really cool friends who I've never gotten to hug in person, by the way.
We're going
Um,
to make that happen.
I know, and it
We're going to
occurred to
make it
me today
happen.
that I haven't literally hugged you in 2 years, over 2 years, so
No, way too
we're
long.
overdue. Exactly. So and I love that piece of it, but what I love is that it's given me a clarity on knowing that what I'm putting out there is serving, and that's where I feel happy and whole and content. And also, like, next steps of like, I'm starting my own podcast and what that's going to look like, and just learning a different avenue of how I can serve people. But also, I was getting, like, before I stepped into coaching with you, it was like, well, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that, maybe I should do this. And there's like all these little bubbles, and I was like, not all of them are going to work, and not all of them fit. And what's happened is I've become really selective about, like, in-person stuff. I love doing in-person events, And I've become selective about making sure that they're ones that aren't just like, hey, slap stuff on a table and shop, but really connecting with people. And through that, I
Yeah.
did an event last spring that I just met so many cool women. One of them is actually like a gym buddy now. We had no idea we went to the same gym, and it turns out we like chat every Saturday, and my husband's like in the car waiting for me. And so it's been really cool to just hone in on the things that are meant for me and are meant for love those vibes, and not think that every little idea that comes up has to be acted on right away. Sometimes it's like, put a pin in it, put it on a post-it, don't forget it because down the road that might make
Yeah.
sense somewhere. And that piece I'm loving because I'm able to take like what we've learned, what I learned while I was working with you, and really just remind myself and put it into practice that all the things don't absolutely have to be done the minute I have the idea. Sometimes they're an idea of their own and they come to fruition, and sometimes they become like a small piece of something else that's already done. And sometimes I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? That was such a bad idea. So all of those things, but they're all like, they all happen. And I feel like
Yes.
I'm in a place where I'm really loving where things are landing, and it really feels like an adventure. And that's like, I always call it a self-love adventure. And it feels like that's been that way for me, especially over the last year and a half. But it also
Yeah.
feels like I'm bringing that vibe to other people now in a way that I conceptually wanted to, but I'm actually like, "Oh, this is how I can bring it to you." And that part I'm really enjoying.
Ah, that's so good. And I'm still stuck on you saying like not like you don't always have to have like your friends aren't always your community and your
Yeah,
community aren't always your friends. They can be, but I'm like, "Ah, that's so
yeah.
good."
Like, I have
I've
a
never
friend
thought of it that
I
way.
love. She's my favorite friend, as my daughter used to call it when she was little. And she's not ever showing up on a community call or whatever. She's like, they are not my people. You are, but they are not. And I love that because you can be friends, but sometimes
Yes.
you need a community that meets you in a space that not all your friends can do. And what's cool is
Yes.
sometimes you get really cool friendships that come out of that, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I see that happen all the time because to your point, you're meeting people that are in a similar space and place in life. And that alone right there brings connection
Yeah.
that often we're really craving and feeling depleted of.
Yes.
So, what would you tell a woman who's listening right now that's on the fence about either joining the Beam Life or making an investment in a coaching opportunity, whether it's with the Beam Life or not? And she knows that, like, this is what she wants, but she's terrified to, like, make the leap. What advice would you share with her?
I would say think about how the person resonates with you.
Mm,
How how they carry themselves, how they show up, because there are a lot of great programs out there, but not every program's for every person. And when you meet the people that are going to help you make the shifts that you really want to make, it's you're I feel like you're going to know. But if you're thinking like you were talking about earlier,
yep.
if you're thinking and overthinking, you're going to miss your own message, I think. And so it's just let your intuition, that was another one I had to do a whole word study on. Let your intuition really help you understand like who's connected. Because I'm going to tell you, I was not in a space of thinking I wanted or needed to do a coaching container. And I had seen your Instagram posts, and I always put the heart because, gotta support. And then the
Yep.
one day I was like, oh, let's tap the link. Oh, crap, I tapped the link. And then I was like, you know what? I tapped the link because I need to tap the link. And this is time for me to do that. And so I feel like those things happen when, like, you just know, like, my finger was like, you're going there, not there this time.
You're going to do the thing.
Yes, and so I think
Yes.
too, like, just be in touch with your intuition because what you want is always on the other side of discomfort. But when you have the right
Mm,
person on the other side of that discomfort, they're gonna guide you and bring you to the place you already know deep down that you need to go and want to go, and just don't know how to get there
yes.
yourself. And it's worth that
Ugh.
first step of just stepping out to trust yourself, but then make sure that it's with someone on the other side of it that's you can trust and just resonate with, because it's going to be beautiful when you do it.
So well said. So well said. Where can listeners connect with you? Because you always have fabulous things going on. So what's the best place for someone to come say hi and hear and see all your things?
Oh, I'm over on Instagram. I don't do a ton of social media platforms. I feel like my brain has like the capacity to focus on one. You may see posts on Facebook, but that's just the automated thing shifting over there. I think my sister's the only one who actually comments over there. But find me on Instagram. Can I give them my handle, or
Yeah,
it's
please.
I'm
Yeah.
at Love Those Vibes Box, because somebody stole just Love Those Vibes before I thought of it, so I had to add the box in. But yeah, that's where you find me, and DM me. Like, it's not an Autobot, it's not an admin, it's me, it's all me. I do all the things, and I cannot wait to grow to the place where I have an admin who helps me do that stuff, but
Right?
not there yet.
Even then, I always say, I don't want to lose that. I want to
Yeah,
talk to the person. It's
exactly.
so important.
So it's
So
always
important.
me there when when I'm there. It's you're gonna get me, and I share self-love tools, and all the things that I'm in a mode of right now, like really trying to share uplifting stuff, because I just feel heavy the last several
Yes.
months, and I wanna, give people who are feeling heavy the opportunity to just feel a little bit lifted.
I'm also going to give your emails a shout out because get on her email list, y'all, because she sends out a Sunday reset every Sunday, obviously, Sunday reset. And it's an email I look forward to every week. And I
Oh,
cannot say that about a lot of people, Grace. I
yay.
truly, truly love your emails. And they always uplift me. And in a really dark time that we're in right now, I will take all the uplifting we can get.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I love the Sunday emails, and they were like a sort of a passion project I came up with while I was coaching with you, by the way, where I just wanted to connect with people. And I didn't want to be the person who's like showing up in their inbox all day, every day, because that's just so much information. But I just bring you like nuggets once a week. And, when I'm doing other stuff, I'll share more emails. But most times it's just that weekly email that you're just kind of getting a boost, and always a tool like that. I love creating that.
Yes.
So much fun.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your time, your story, your energy, and I'm so grateful for you.
Thank you so much for having me here. And I love your studio. It's gorgeous.
Ah, thank you. So, for those of you listening, Grace's story is proof that you do not have to wait until you're ready to bet on yourself. You bet on yourself and then you get ready. This is exactly what we do inside Embodied Earner, my 12-month mastermind for coaches and creatives who are done hiding and ready to build something real. Doors are opening soon. Link is in the show notes, and go get your ass on the wait list right now.
Yes.
All right, y'all. Talk soon.